Welcome to my channel, Simplified English 101. This lesson is a follow-up of the last lesson that talks about the characters and characterization in Emma. If you missed that video, feel free to check it out. If you're new to my channel, please remember to like, share, comment, and don't forget to subscribe. Today's lesson will talk about the narrative techniques in Emma. So let's begin. Narrative techniques are references or techniques that the writers or authors use to try to convey their message to us, and the methods that they will use or are using to develop the story. These are the plot structure, characters, point of view, setting, language, and devices, just to name a few. Let us look at the narrative techniques used in Emma. The narrative techniques used in Emma are first person, the use of the first person child narrator, the use of contrast, symbols, dialogue, suspense, irony, and other devices. Let's begin with the first one. First person child narrator. The story is told from the perspective of Dory, an 8-year-old child. Though she is 8, she is fascinated by the world of the adults. This is seen in her play dress up and the way she tries to imitate her mother and her mother's friend. Despite this fascination and awe with the adult world, she is unable to figure it out. She is also unable to explain what the events mean and the purpose of the players in the game of life. As a first-person narrator, we will often expect to see the use of pronouns like I, me, my, and we. This is seen throughout the story Emma repeatedly. Though Dory does not always use her pronouns in the correct way, these are pronouns that one expects to see. As a first-person child narrator, Dory tries to narrate the events that she sees. The problem arises in her trying to decode what she sees and hears. In doing so, she uses simplified description based on the level of comprehension. This can cause many readers to become bored. As a first-person child narrator, we expect our narrator to be reliable. When we meet Dory, we see her as a reliable and trustworthy character, telling the story the way she sees it, the way it unfolds. In Emma, this narrative perspective caused us to instantly trust the events that Dory gives to us. She becomes likable to us. And when she gets confused and angry and sad and even happy, we share similar emotions. Truly, a first-person child narrator is expected for the readers to become sympathetic, and that we truly were. A first-person child narrator that is not the protagonist can cause a problem. The downside to that is when the first-person narrator tells the story as a character, but not the protagonist. We not only get to see the character through the eyes of someone else, but it also changes the way we as readers think about the main character. Nonetheless, this type of narrator is able to control the author's reach over the reader's views. Finally, a first-person child narrator could be seen as unreliable. This is because they can misinterpret the information or events around them. The role of the first-person child narrator in Emma did one. Its role was to imitate the views of how Dory sees her mother and how she feels about the situation. It showed us the games the adults played and how their actions affected children. It also showed us, or gave us rather, a glance into the volatile relationship between her mother and her father. It informed us about the infidelity. It informed us about the changes of the atmosphere. when it changed, and the characters involved. The first-person child narrator also made it, again, easy for us to sympathize with Dory and love those she loved and despises those she despised. Let us look at another narrative technique used in the story. The use of contrast. Remember that the purpose of contrast is to clarify ideas about identifying the differences between two things, ideas, setting, persons, etc. In Emma, for example, contrast was used throughout. This is to describe the friendship that exists, the interaction between the characters, the setting, as well as the atmosphere. As a narrative technique, this is used to ensure that the readers are able to understand what is going on in the story, thus making it memorable. When contrast is used in a story, it forces the readers to immediately begin to assess things being compared instead of assessing it individually. So contrast was important and was a very good narrative technique. It forced us as readers to start to look at the characters that we see, the relationships that exist between the characters, the interaction between the characters, and then basically forced us to pick a side. As a result, our perception is altered. We are forced to become biased. Contrast is also used to compare friendships. Friendships that exist in the story. For example, we see friendships and relationships like Emma and Ruby and Dory and Maria. This allows us to see Emma as the good character and Mrs. Robinson as a villain. Additionally, we are quick to identify with and even adore the kind of woman Emma is, despite her flaws. We understand the decisions she makes in her marriage, though we do not agree with them. We understand her interaction between her friend, herself, and her friend, and her reason and ability to remain friends with Ruby despite her evil ways. Contrast is used to help us get a description of the characters that we meet. Contrast can be seen through characters like Emma and Ruby, Emma and the lady at the train station, Maria and Dory, Emma and Dory's relationship versus Ruby and Maria, and Jack and Granddaddy. Let's look at contrast in the setting. Contrast in the setting of a story is used to help us see the change in the character's behavior, as well as the atmosphere, the development of the plot, as well as highlighting certain thematic concerns. Let's move on to another narrative technique. The use of symbols and motifs. Now, like any other literary work or literature piece, symbols help the authors to convey their meaning in a more striking way. A symbol, just for a reminder, is a thing that is used to signify something else. In Emma, for example, symbolism is used to reveal to us the truth about many universal themes in an indirect way. This is important because it allows the author the freedom that they want to discuss tabooed topics that affect many in real life. Some symbols that we will meet or see in Emma, just to name a few, are the lady's long white necklace. That's the lady at the train station's white necklace, being compared to Emma's shiny strings that she wears. So Emma's jewelry, the lady's jewelry. The lady's white necklace compared to Emma's shiny string is symbolic in the sense that it shows the difference between class, affluence, and Emma's taste for finer things in comparison to this woman. It also shows that unlike this woman, Emma has wealth, Emma has power and status in society. Let's move on to the deck of cards. For those of you that do not know, a deck of cards normally contains or consists of 52 pieces, give and take with the two joker, right? Now, we know the role of the joker in the card pack. Traditionally speaking, or nowadays, we see the joker as a fool. That's what we take it for. However, in a card game consisting of the joker, a player usually has a certain number of cards depending on the game that they're playing. Now, this player can maneuver their way to the top and win if they hold the right cards and if they play the game or find ways to play the game with the cards they have. Unlike other cards in a card pack, the joker, as we know it, is a fool. However, the joker, one, it has its own suit and colors, and unlike other cards, the joker represents 0. You know, the joker is the only card that doesn't have a number. However, this joker that we might consider a fool is seen as extremely powerful or extremely naive, depending on the card holder and depending on how the card is used. In ancient times, a joker, their role was to make the king laugh, make the king happy. That's their job. So we can assume that if the joker is good, then the king is going to keep him. And if he performs poorly, then of course, off with your head. He will be discarded. In Emma, she had the joker in the end, even before she died. This is symbolic in the sense that Emma, who holds the joker, has not found a way to play the hand given with the cards she has. As such, she dies. Remember, I just pointed out to you that the joker in the card pack can be extremely powerful and extremely, Jamaican terms, fool. Now, you can call Emma the one that you so desire. Let us move on. Emma's failure to realize that though the cards that she have or others might have are different, you know, though she owes the joker and it's different from the other cards, she still holds so much power in the game and could have been extremely powerful. Rather, she remained naive and had a terrible outcome. While the joker could symbolize that her life could have taken a different path, had she realized the power of the numberless card that she holds, it could also be used to suggest that no matter how Emma played, she would have remained a fool in the game. Carolyn Cole could be suggesting through the use of this symbol that Emma, one, possibly had no hand in the game, that she was bound to lose either her husband or child because she is forced to make a decision. Remember, her husband really doesn't want a child. And this is possibly the reason why he cheats. Emma wants a child, but she loves her husband. So either way, Carolyn Cole could be suggesting that Emma would have lost the game. The other cards in the deck, they could symbolize that the other players who, unlike Emma, has found a way to play the game, though unfair. They have realized, unlike Emma, that the game of life is not always what they want it to be. And as such, they must find a way to win, even if it means cheating, like Mrs. Robinson. She cheated her way into a man. Other symbols in the story are the little woman. This was mentioned when Dory and her mother waited late for her father to come home. In trying to stay up later, Dory begged her mother to continue reading the story, Little Woman. Little Women. This is a book. Now it has been turned into a movie. This book and our movie is about four sisters, three of them who see marriage as a way to get out of poverty, while one remains a feminist. The fact that Dory wanted Emma to finish reading the story could suggest that she also desired to live the way Emma now lives. Be at home, be a stay-at-home mother, and have a man taking care of her. However, the fact that Emma dies before she could complete reading the story, Little Woman, it could suggest that, or could symbolize that Dory's life and faith will be nothing like Emma's. Final symbol that I'll discuss is Monopoly. Now, when I was a girl, I loved to play the game. I do sometimes do enjoy playing in this game, and I do consider myself to be very good at it. The game of Monopoly has, the same concept as the card game, where the idea is to win and control. However, in Monopoly, one person monopolizes work and forces others to relinquish their property if they cannot pay, etc. This is symbolic in Emma, as the notion is that Jack is the one who has all the power. He's the man with the money, he's doing all the work, he's handsome, he's a catch, etc. Now, these are features that other women desire, like Ruby. This is symbolic because it makes it clear that if one player in the game is incompetent or unable to secure their position, as Ruby told Emma, protect your interests, then someone else will eventually control what you have lost. Emma lost her man and her child, and Ruby took over. Let us look at the motive, game or playing. Game or playing in Emma is seen from the very beginning. We are introduced to the children playing a game. Their playing is presented as innocent, a simple activity between two little girls. However, as the story progresses, the game changes. We see the way the adults play, and we see that the games they play are different from the games of the children. In the adult game, people get hurt, lies are told, and their games do become fatal. Even between the children, the innocent game becomes violent as they mirror the adults in their life. We saw on many occasions where Maria was violent towards Dory and squeezed her and kicked her and did many little things to Dory. And this was a reflection of their society, basically. Maria's reassurance that, at the end of the game, she will play differently shows that the game, the motive of game and our playing is changing. This brings to the fore various themes like children in the adult world, innocence, women in society, men in society, parenting, deception and friendship. All of these can be seen through the game and our idea of playing. Let's move on. Dialogue as a narrative technique. In Emma, it helps us to, one, provide background story. We get background story about Emma, where she's from. We get a little bit of background story that Emma gave up a lot so that Mr. York business could become successful. We get a background information on Ruby and her situation. The dialogue also helps with the plot progression. This is important because through the conversation that Dory has with her friend and Maria has with her mother and Dory and her grandfather, we get to see the plot changing and how it moved from one place to the next and how the suspense even grew. The dialogue also assisted in demonstrating the conflict and show how the characters interact. The dialogue was also effective as it established the narrative voice. Now, the use of suspense, irony, and other devices are used in the story as narrative techniques. This is your task. Find out how and why and the effectiveness of suspense and other literary devices as narrative techniques in Emma. This is the end of the lesson. I hope you enjoyed it. Until next time, bye.